But talking about change, you must have seen tremendous change in your lifetime. Like when you look at how farming has changed, and
yes.
even specifically in County Mayo, have you seen all the changes?
Yeah. I suppose what we were speaking about earlier was probably the greatest, was the catalyst for greatest change when electricity came to the rural areas, and it was a very, very dark place before that, because very, very poor. There was no outdoor lighting, and even to walk along the roads it was a dark place. Now the change in farming has been tremendous as well. Of course, tillage farming is nearly gone at the moment on the smaller farms. While I suppose there's even you take the west of Mayo particularly, you've got good patches of land, okay, but quite a lot of it is not great land. But all this land was worked in my youth. It's not being worked now. It's grazed. There's cattle grazing on it. There's sheep grazing on it, but it's not being farmed for crops.
Mm.
And that is a big change. Even the cattle, unless that you're selling milk to the creameries or whatever, and there's very little of that now in the west of Mayo. Cows aren't being milked anymore. They're calf suck on them, and they're used to raise cattle, and that's a big change. The traps and sidecars going to Sunday Mass, going to the fair, going to the towns are all a thing of the past. Of course, we're obviously motorised cars, and several cars at every house. And I suppose people have become certainly more affluent, better dressed, better educated in a broader sense as well.
Has Mayo become an industrialised county in compared to what it was in the 50s and 60s?
Well, of course, some of them, when I suppose in 1960s here, taking this town alone, in the early 60s here, we probably had as many people employed in industry as there was in Galway City. But then some of the older industries went past their sell-by date, and they eventually folded. But with the coming then of the new the pharmaceuticals and the healthcare companies and all of that, again they got a lot of people are employed in that.
What were the old,
which is good.
What were the old ones? Can you remember the old industries that were in Westport?
I can remember them, yes. I remember the Irish sewing cotton, where they produced thread, and there was a kind of a triple factory there. There was the dye works, which was part of it as well. There was the spinning mill.
Were there many working there?
I think there was about 250 at a stage. Mm-hmm. Then you had Westport Textiles, which was a textile company started in the very early 60s. I think about 62, if I can be. Which is that's still going but a different generation of product now.
And were there many working on that?
I'm not sure of the amount, but I think
maybe a couple of hundred.
There was a couple of hundred, probably more, I'd say. Then you had the Lastra Foundations, which was an underwear factory down below, and you had the popular cap factory, shirt factory. You had a whole lot of different smaller industries, but yet very important industries.
They were mostly set up by local business people, were they?
Yes.
At that time, yeah. There's a great tradition of business out of Westport.
Well, I think that's one thing that, you see, the wealth of any town is the entrepreneurs within the town at that particular time, and you had a lot of them here in Westport, which and those people kind of created the jobs, they created the industries. Obviously they hoped they can make a profit out of them themselves, but they create an awful lot of jobs.
Mm. So you have seen the transition in Ireland from agriculture to industry, and you're involved in some organisations that were involved in that transition. Yeah,
there is a great transition, all right, and I suppose, you know, there's also a great transition from manual work to machinery work and whatever
automation.
In automation, you know, in the farm as well. There've been made a lot of difference, and of course the amount of labour then is reduced quite substantially.
Mm. What organisations have you been involved in over the years?
Oh my goodness! Maybe it's better to ask me what organisations I haven't been involved in.
The big ones.
I probably. The big ones. Well, I've been involved, obviously from my own business. I've been involved in the Association of Electrical Contractors, which is an Irish association, which became an offshoot of the SIET, which is the Society of Irish Electrical Traders. And I'm involved in the ECA, which is a British-based organisation for electrical contractors as well. And through them, I suppose, I became involved in the ETCI, which is the Electrotechnical Council of Ireland, of which I'm a past vice chairman of, and that's the Irish Committee of a European body, one international body called the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Commission, and the other body, the European body, is CENELEC, which is the Commission for European Standards. And of course, I'm still involved, in fact, in it, because we write the wiring rules for electrical installations, and we've just after bringing out the 4th edition now. I'm also,
for Europe, is it?
For Ireland.
For Ireland.
For Ireland. But we have incorporated a lot of European rules in that, and we have had a great link with Europe. Of course, we have to incorporate European standards in those rules as well, and I've been involved in HDs, which is harmonisation documents in Europe as well, where we're trying to harmonise the electrical standards for the EU. And I suppose was involved in the emergency lighting and the fire alarm installation, and that was through the NSCI, the National Standards Authority of Ireland. We brought out just recent, we're still working, and it's gone public common now, a new standard for emergency lighting. And of course I was involved in the Register of Electrical Contractors, called RECI for short. I was founder member of it, which was set up to improve standards within the electrical industry. And that was, I suppose, that took off in 1992. It was launched. So it's 20 years in being now. So it's well established. Of course, it's now underneath the Commissioner for the Commission for European electrical, the Commission for Electrical, sort of the CER of the Commission for Energy Regulation.
And you were involved in Mayo development.
Yeah, well, I suppose we set up the Southwest Mayo Development Company. Well, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce at that particular time.
In Westport.
In Westport, and I suppose I was a director of the Chambers of Commerce of Ireland and chairman of the Western region. So when the LEADER programme was set up in the early 90s, a number of established rural development community companies sought it, but we were the only one, I think, that was set up specifically to get the LEADER programme. And I suppose it was the involvement of the Chamber of Commerce that probably swung it, because there was 34 applications on 17 projects were established, and we were lucky to be one of them. And of course...
And what was the objective of the organisation?
Well, it's links between European communities. What it really was, it was probably the peripheral regions of the EU. And Ireland was very much a peripheral region of the EU. And I suppose it was probably replacing the loss of farming in the peripheral regions, really. Mm. And the whole idea of it was that there was a fairly substantial fund, and anybody starting a little program, there was a number of them which would produce jobs, would get grant aid from it. Now it was kind of more or less press a start button. It was only seed capital really, but at the same time it did generate a lot of jobs, and it's still going very, very strongly indeed, and it's quite a substantial program now. But there's been a number of programs since. That was Leader 1 at that stage, of which I was chairman of. And probably because I was president of the Chamber of Commerce at the time,
it helped you, yeah?
It helped all right, because the chambers have got a very, very big, they're very important in Europe.
And what do you think of Chambers of Commerce for a small town like Westport?
Well, I think that everybody in business should be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, in whatever business, in services or in business of whatever kind. I seriously believe that. Because, first of all, I suppose the idea of the Chamber of Commerce is it's an association of business people, and they work for each other. There's quite a lot of networking, but along with that, the strength of the chamber depends on the amount of members that it has, and the representation that the chamber president and the chamber directors can, how best they can represent those businesses in whatever way.
Hmm. What specifically does the chamber do in terms of its being?
Well, I suppose it sets up there's if you look at the chamber in Westport, the chamber in Westport, it has been involved in an awful lot of things for the good of the town. But I think more specifically, the Chamber of Commerce is a great lobbying force. And if you were to kind of say, what is it? It's a lobbying organisation, and they lobby for every member, or lobby for every group of members. And do
you have any specific instances of lobbying in Westport that have been successful?
Oh, well, of course we have. The Chamber of Commerce, 2 from the Chamber of Commerce and 2 from the Urban Council, or the Town Council as it is now. They lobbied very, very for the new technology park. They lobbied for the water scheme. They lobbied for the electricity upgrade. They lobbied for lobbied for the roads, or continue to lobby for the road. Now, business people know exactly what's needed, what the requirements of the town are, and I think that maybe that even government bodies and councils aren't always aware of what business people want, and in this way it kind of can articulate this to them. The other things, of course, it runs is it's running a FOSS scheme, which a lot of people benefit by. It's involved in the Tidy Towns, which we have thankfully won 3 times the last decade. Plus we've continuously held on to our gold medals, and we've had a number of awards. And of course it has really put Westport on the map, indeed, a lot from a tourism point of view and from a visitor point of view. Everybody likes to come to Westport because it's a nice clean town, and just, obviously Chamber gives us full support to that. Yeah.
Have you noticed much societal changes since you, in your long life so far?
Yes, of course there has been. Like you asked me earlier on about how we entertained ourselves. Even as young adults, we didn't. First of all, we didn't drink. Most of the guys and girls I grew up with were pioneers. They didn't drink at all. There has been an awful change in that. We obviously went to dance halls and danced everywhere we could afford to go, but there was no drink in the dance halls at that particular time. We weren't into the singing pubs or lounge bars or whatever. And while all this is good and controlled you know, it's also the changes in some areas are not for the better. I suppose we didn't have the money or didn't have the transport probably at when we were growing up either. Cars were very, very scarce at that particular time, and we kind of stayed more local.
And much vandalism that time, no?
No, I think everybody grew up at that particular time with the motto, never do anything to hurt or harm anybody else. No, there were exceptions obviously to the rule, but there was very little vandalism.
Generally,
you just didn't do it because you felt it was wrong and that it was hurting somebody else, and that was something you just didn't do.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Westport? How would you describe Westport?
Well, I think Westport is a most beautiful town, very, very nice people. It's a very, very friendly town. I suppose it's been called Westport of the Welcomes, and I don't think it got that name for nothing. But it's a clean town, it's a very progressive town, I think, and it's a beautiful place to live in.
So you're not going to move any place else?
No.
Thanks very much.